Welcome to the Subjective Professor podcast, where we reject coercion and hypocrisy. It's Tuesday, August 25th, 2026, episode 582. We're going to talk about Trump's policy of bullying. Not all of it, just the most recent iteration of his policy, which is bullying Canada. So whatever they were negotiating publicly or privately, it fell through. And so Trump is declaring all these tariffs on to Canada. But as you probably already know, oh, before I get started, I was not planning on doing an episode, but I saw the news stories and I had to, I was so infuriated that I had to make an episode. And when you get that inspiration, you just got to do it, right? Otherwise, you're going to talk to your wife and she really doesn't care. So, anyway, also today is the first day I'll be teaching at the university level in a while. The demographic of the class is not what I was told it was going to be. And so now I'm a little nervous that I'm going to have a lot of lefty woke students in there trying to get an easy A. And won't they have a shock? And then I won't be able to last more than one semester. This is going to be terrible. Back in my previous university, because I was teaching there for over 20 years, I had a kind of reputation. And so a lot of the students that I was getting were friends or siblings of former students. And so I had a core of people who knew what they were getting into, and I think were able to influence the rest of the class to just at least be polite and listen. But so I don't know what's going to happen, but maybe I'll tell you in another episode. But anyway, so Trump is alienating everybody. Um, Not only because his personality is just so, at least his public persona, a lot of people say that when you talk to him privately, he is actually a pretty nice guy. And I kind of emphasize with that because that's what a lot of people said about me, that when you listen to me give a sermon or, uh, I don't know, publicly speak somewhere, I sound kind of obnoxious, I guess, but when you talk to me, it's a different thing. And people don't understand that in preaching, it's not you who's speaking. Like it can't be you. It has to be, um, you're teaching the material. And so the material has to be speaking, not you. And if you're the one that's inserting yourself in that situation, like a sermon, then you're not teaching Jesus anymore. You're teaching yourself. And so, in the same way, when you're in a classroom setting, you're presenting the ideas and you are acting as the mouthpiece of an author or of an ideology. And otherwise, you're just inserting your own spin to it. And I don't think that's instruction, right? As long as you're really clear about doing that, I think um, acting as the mouthpiece of the author or of an ideology is supposed to be what we're doing, right? I mean, that's education, is it not? But so this public persona of Trump is just so obnoxious and so indelicate, shall I say, because culturally speaking, people all over the world, the cultures are different. And people don't understand and realize that what may seem a little bit entertaining here in terms of what Trump says to some people, especially the MAGA base, is completely unacceptable in other countries. Um, I mean, it really looks bad, particularly in Asian society, the way that he talks and how he does certain things. It's just so bad that people can't take him seriously. They tolerate him because he's the president of the United States, but it's a poor reflection. It really is. It makes everyone who lives in the United States look really, really bad. And so you can tell when you go to other countries, they say, oh, you're from America. Like, yeah, but I'm not like Trump. So you always got to insert that simply because of the way human psychology works. Anyway, so the United States, Trump, is alienating everybody, alienated Russia, China, a lot of the Asian countries, India. all of the countries that are suffering because of oil, broken supply chains. I mean, just as they were getting over the whole Cervasis lockdown, where hundreds of thousands of people died because supply chains were broken. So they were just getting over that, and now America hits them with this. I mean, it's alienating everybody in the world from the United States. So some of the people I listen to will say that the only people who are still friends with the United States are the Israelis, right? And that's because they're participating in the war together. So talk about isolationism. I talked about this before, but a lot of people called me an isolationist because I was anti-war, and they saw war as somehow anti-isolationism. No, it's war and violence. It's being the bully, which isolates you. No one wants to be your friend. People only talk to you because you'll punch them in the face if you don't. And so that arbitrary use of coercion and force, war and military, this is what leads to being isolated. And so tariffs on China, because they refuse deals which are favorable to the United States and not Canada, this, of course, they're going to react badly. Now, this is something that's really interesting, um, is that Canada has all this energy that they used to sell to the United States, which the United States will not be able to buy any longer because it's more expensive now, right? So all of that stuff, which the United States can no longer purchase, oil, electricity, things like that, they're now going to sell to China. And so China is the big beneficiary of a lot of these policies. And that's what happens. You isolate yourself, and your enemies benefit, so-called enemies. They benefit. Your friends don't talk to you anymore. You're on, you're on not speaking terms at the moment. And so whoever is going to be the next leader of the United States, if they are a radical socialist, then they'll just make everything worse. They'll pretend to make things better, but at the same time, increase their own power. So ultimately, everything will be worse. And if it is a true freedom-minded person, well, there's a lot of work to do. And anyone who understands free trade, voluntary cooperation, this is not how free trade works. You don't bully each other. When you make a deal, it has to be beneficial to both sides, the United States and the Canada. And so Trump has absolutely no understanding of free trade, capitalism, how any of it works. And so, yeah, Trump's a fascist. Okay. Now, admittedly, I did vote for him because he was all about peace, and he was so convincing, and brought in Elon Musk with Doge. I mean, it really did look, I mean, he fooled a lot of people. But my argument is that something happened. Like a month into his administration, something changed dramatically. And I told my wife that I noticed something right away, that there was something different. And whether it's because he had a brain fart, his mental decline just accelerated, or because, the Epstein class just started leveraging whatever dirt they have on him. But whatever, he changed. But prior to becoming a president, all he was a corrupt business person, always trying to work an angle for his benefit, make the regulations work for him. That's what he's accustomed to doing, and that's why his family is completely enriching themselves right now at our expense, because that's what he's always done. But Trump's policy is a policy of bullying other people. Hey, we have the greatest military in the world. That is the most expensive military in the world. So let's just use it because it'll beat everybody. And that is a mythology that Hollywood and everybody in the world and even historians have built up, and it's just not true. Okay, the United States is equipped to fight the last war, but not against a war that is on the same level, technologically speaking. Right. So, and plus, they've spent all of their resources developing systems to counter whatever the United States has. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the people who serve. It's just that they have to serve under idiots. And it's frustrating that because they're making bad choices, A lot of people are going to get hurt. A lot of families are going to suffer. And another frustrating thing is that a lot of former military people, when you talk to them, they will completely disagree with me. And that's because they can only see the entire military through their own service, through their own experience that's in the military. And I've heard the same things over and over again. And it's a very narrow perspective, and it doesn't take in the big picture. And that's why a lot of former military still believe that the United States is winning against Iran. It's just, it's frustrating. I listened to Colonel Wilkerson in an interview he had yesterday in Dialogue Works, and he was talking about stories because he was in the government for a very, very long time. And he basically said that the United States has been striving for war and empire for decades, at least since the Clinton era, probably before that too, with the Bushes. But the reality is that any excuse to expand the scope and power of the United States, they jumped at it. What they actually said to the public is something completely different. Um, but um, but that's the thing. Probably you could see hints of it when they would say stuff like, "It's not in the interest of the United States. The United States has no interest in that area," right? And so when they do have an interest, there's going to be destabilization and war. Well, so they got their wars and we lost all of them. We've bankrupted ourselves in the process. We're increasing surveillance at home. There's malinvestment or bad investment into bubbles, from real estate to AI, supply chains, not just for critical minerals, for weapons, but supply chains for energy, for food, especially when it comes to diesel fuel. All of this has been disrupted as a result of US government's desire for empire, or now at this point to preserve the empire. It's falling apart. The wheels are coming off. And China benefits from all of this, as I already said. All of the resources the United States no longer purchases and uses, it's all going to China. Like even Wilkerson was saying that Iraqi oil tankers are going to China. Iran is letting Iraqi oil tankers leave the Gulf and supply China. So China is getting oil. We are not. All because of the policy of bullying that we have in place. All right, it's bad. But so there's that. But my when I see that, I wonder where is the courage in the administration to tell Trump to go climb a tree? Like, is there no one in the entire administration who will stand up to him and say, Mr. Trump, you're insane. Mr. Trump, this is wrong. Why can't he, he's not a god. He's a person. And especially if he's crazy and he's demonstrating his loss of mental ability, well, even more so, you have to do this. So where is the courage to do this? A lot of people resigned, but wouldn't it have been better to stay, disobey, raise a stink, constantly go public and say how you disagree with this? There's no evidence for this and to force Trump to fire you. I mean, wouldn't that have been better to get more attention for that, to make it really difficult for people? At this point, people say, well, so and so resigned. And he just simply has to say, oh, yeah, because, they can't take the pressure or whatever. But if you raise a stink and you share the evidence that you can share, I mean, wouldn't that have been better? I would have done that. Maybe I would have been arrested for doing it, but I would have done it. Uh, and if you resign, aren't you just going to be replaced by another sycophant, another butt licker? You don't really improve the situation. I mean, so yeah, you say, yeah, I can't in good conscience continue to serve under this administration, but you can do that while keeping your job too. So at this point, people say that Vance is the only one. It doesn't look that, and he's even weak when he does it. He seems to be not very, somehow divided. On the one hand, he doesn't necessarily disagree, but his hands are tied because he wants to be president. So Larry Johnson calls them all cowards. Wilkerson uses the term stupid or dumb. Stupid is that you know better, but you still do the wrong choice. Dumb is because you have no, if you're dumb because you have no idea what's going on. So are they cowards? Are they just stupid cowards? Are they dumb cowards? And so when I see all this stuff, I really wonder about courage, courage to do the right thing. You know you're going to suffer as a result, but not to do anything makes will give you something even worse. See, that's the thing. Courage is the ability to be able to see that you can't avoid the inevitable, and to delay it will only um, give you a more horrible result. And so you got to do it now. And so I procrastinate in everything except this. I got to wonder about that. And now that I just said it, I have to think about that. Why is that? Um, Maybe because there is no negative consequence necessarily for procrastinating. The job gets done, right? But anyway, so courage to do the right thing, even though you know you're going to suffer. So what is it to be courageous? What is it to have courage? Well, you know what is honest and true, what's not hypocritical, what is just. That is what's justice, and you know that bombing kids is not justice. Starving kids all over the world, that is not justice. So, uh, why would you do the right thing, the honest thing, the unhypocritical thing, knowing that you'll suffer? As I said, because you know that things will be much worse. There'll be so much more suffering if you don't do the right thing now. If you lack courage, it means that you have no integrity, right? You can't do the right thing when you need to. And so there's no honesty in that person. You can't trust that person. They have no integrity. And so if you do the hard stuff, then people will trust you with the small stuff. And just personally speaking, that's imperfect. Like sometimes it's like the little stuff I totally screw up, but the big stuff I can do it. And I think it's because I made the mistake of of doing that quantifying thing. Well, it's only a little thing. But when you get busted, it's really bad, right? So you realize that big or small, you have to always do the right thing. Now, cowards, what makes a coward a coward? It's not just fear, right? Being afraid. Like a lot of people want to emphasize the fear aspect of it, but I think more to the point is that they are prioritizing something else other than truth, right? So they look like they are full of fear because they didn't do the right thing. But, if you look at movies, the coward is the backstabber, right? The person who sells out all his friends for himself, right? But if you look closer, it's because they're greedy for something, greedy for their own life, greedy for power, greedy for money. And that's why they will do and make the choices that they make. So it looks like cowardice, but really what it is that they are prioritizing something else, maybe even their own life. Now, some people among these cowards and courageous people are true believers, but among the cowards, they see something else, like later glory or blessing. And the true believers, of course, among the courageous, they really believe that living an honest life full of integrity, trustworthiness is the way to go. It benefits everybody. And the problem with cowardice is that many people are going to suffer. With courage, generally speaking, other people benefit, right? You don't necessarily get anything except your own personal satisfaction, because most people don't even notice that you did the right thing. And a lot of people will blast you for doing the right thing because they don't get to take advantage of corruption, right? But uh, if you are a coward, Everyone suffers, including the coward. Everyone suffers. And the only people who really benefit are your opponents, your enemies, right? Because they, at the very least, they get to say, see, that's why you got to vote for me. Cowards are also generally short-sighted, and because of that, cowardly behavior is unsustainable. That's why cowards never win, because you can't. It's unsustainable. It doesn't last. So people like me, little people like me, speak to the internet, waiting for someone with courage, true courage, to stand up, to speak the truth, to teach justice, not speak platitudes, right? Not cater to the voting base, but to teach justice, to take that hit and then let the results speak for themselves. It takes a true believer in justice to do this, someone who has a thick skin, willing to suffer, even to have to see their own family suffer because you can't do the wrong thing. In the meantime, personally, I have faith. I have this podcast. I speak to you, um, but I hope that you have something to hold on to. If anything, at least knowing that a lot of what we're hearing is a lie. And so you're preparing yourself, at least mentally, for what's coming, and then hopefully trying to tell others what might be coming down the pipe there. But yeah, I just had to get that off my chest, especially before I walk into the classroom today. Otherwise, I'll start talking about it, and then my new career will come to a screaming halt before it even begins. That's it for today. I will talk to you next time.